So what inspired you to write Life is What You Make It? Can you talk a little bit about the process you went through to write and publish it?
Yes. Okay. So what inspired me to write it really it's kind of a process, like everything is. So it wasn't one thing, but I guess in a way, the reason why I thought it might make sense to do it is that for a lot of my adult life, as my father got more well known, people would say, "You're Warren Buffett's son, you're so normal." And I thought, well, why wouldn't I be normal? And of course I took it as a compliment, but then I realized that's kind of sad, actually, that why wouldn't I be normal? And so then I started to think more about people's assumptions about who he is, and then how I must have grown up, and what privilege is, and what success is, and those kinds of things. And I thought, well, maybe my story would actually benefit other people. And I hadn't really thought about that before. And then I started to do a show called A Concert and Conversation that kind of outlined my story. That came through a request to speak to wealthy clients at Citigroup. They were basically parents that had money that were saying, boy, I sure don't want my kids to grow up messed up or not with a value system. And so maybe you could talk to the parents of these people and say, how did you grow up? How did you end up growing up to have your own life and all these things? And so I started to do this show, and so those different ideas, the idea that people would say that I was so normal and that I was doing this show about my life, and somebody saw that show and said, that's a book. And I thought, never thought about that. I guess maybe it is a book. And which leads to your second part. In terms of the process, I didn't know anything about what it took to write a book, and I never thought about writing a book. And the woman who suggested it said, let me introduce you to an agent. And he was a great guy, and he agreed, first of all, that it was an idea that would be a good book. He'd been an agent for years. His father was an agent. So he was, I trusted his judgment, certainly, that it might be a good book. He said, here's what you do. You write a proposal. It's usually about 20 pages. It's essentially the introduction of the book, and then each chapter, about a paragraph of each chapter, why, what you think, how the book would be fleshed out, without actually writing the whole book. So I did that, and he said, okay, let's shop it around, basically, to various publishers. And a publisher thought it would be a good book too. And then it took a little over a year to actually write it, and there you have it. I think that's pretty much it.